Hello friends, welcome to your channel or welcome back to your channel. Today we are going to talk about the most common problem called anxiety. And we are also going to talk about 8 drug-free methods for dealing with anxiety. Between work, bills, family, and trying to stay healthy, the stress and strain of everyday life can turn you into a nervous wreck. Perhaps you were a nervous child who grew into a nervous adult, or perhaps you developed anxiety later in life. Regardless of when your symptoms began, it's possible that your mind is on high alert and you're constantly expecting the rug to be pulled out from under you. You're not alone. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness in the United States. Around 22% of US adults reported symptoms of depressive disorder in the past week. Like so many others looking for relief, you may have turned to medication for help. Although anti-anxiety drugs can ease your anxiety, the serenity can come with a price tag in the form of side effects. Trouble sleeping, decreased libido, jumpiness, and increased hunger are some of the most common inconveniences of treating anxiety with drugs. The good news is that popping pills isn't the only way to get your fears and nerves under control. Here are 8 simple and effective ways to battle anxiety without medication. 1. Feel free to say no. Your plate is limited, and if you overburden yourself with everyone else's personal issues, your anxiety will worsen. We've all heard the adage, giving brings more happiness than receiving. However, nowhere in this sentence does it state that you should sit back and let others waste your time. If you spend almost all of your energy caring for others, whether it's driving someone around on errands, picking up their kids from school, or listening to their problems, you'll have little strength to care for your personal affairs. This isn't to say you shouldn't help others, but know your limits and don't be afraid to say no when necessary. 2. Set a bedtime for yourself. Isn't there no time for sleep with your hectic schedule? Some workaholics boast about requiring only 3 or 4 hours of sleep per night, as if to say, I'm more determined and committed than everyone else. But, regardless of what you tell yourself, you are not a robot. Humans require sleep to function properly, so unless you've been beaming in from another planet, this also applies to you. Whether you suffer from insomnia, intentionally limit your sleep, or are a self-professed night owl, chronic sleep deprivation makes you vulnerable to anxiety. Get 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night to help yourself, and everyone else. Create a bedtime routine that includes reading a book or doing something relaxing before going to bed. The better prepared you are for a good night's sleep, the better the quality of sleep you will have, which will lead to a better morning. 3. Take a break from caffeine. You might feel better after a cup of coffee, chocolate, or an ice-cold Coke. However, if caffeine is your go-to drug, your anxiety may worsen. Caffeine stimulates the nervous system, which can increase energy levels. However, when under stress, this nervous energy can cause an anxiety attack. As you read this, the thought of giving up your favorite caffeinated beverage may raise your heart rate and induce anxiety. But you don't have to stop cold turkey or give up caffeine completely. It all comes down to moderation. Instead of 4 cups of coffee per day, limit yourself to 1 or 2 normal-sized cups per day, normal as in 8 ounces, not 16 or 32 ounces. Give it a try and see how you like it. As you wean yourself off caffeine, gradually introduce other beverages into your diet, such as decaffeinated herbal tea, which can help you relax your mind and nerves. 4. Get going. When your mind is racing, exercise is probably the last thing you want to do. You might be concerned about post-workout soreness and the inability to walk or sit for the next 2 days. Alternatively, your thoughts may wander to the worst-case scenario, in which you fear overexerting yourself and suffering a heart attack. However, exercise is one of the most effective natural anti-anxiety treatments. Endorphins and serotonin levels are increased by physical activity, which helps you feel better emotionally. And when you feel better on the inside, it affects your entire outlook. Exercise can also take your mind off your problems because your brain cannot focus on two things at the same time. Aim for at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity 3 to 5 days per week. Don't think you have to put up with a grueling workout. Any type of movement is beneficial, so put on your favorite music and dance around the house. Alternatively, grab a yoga mat and perform your favorite yoga poses. 5. Declare it loudly. One way to deal with anxiety is to talk to a trusted friend. But screaming at the top of your lungs is even better than talking. You were probably taught as a child not to shout and to use your inside voice. However, as an adult, you have the authority to make your own rules. So, if you've got pent-up frustrations and anxiety, let it all out. This does not imply instilling fear in others so that they become tense like you. We're talking about a healthy release of emotions in a safe setting. The more you fight anxiety, the worse it can become. Instead, accept anxiety as a normal part of life, and then let it go. Scream at the top of your lungs, punch a pillow, pound your chest, or stomp your feet. Do whatever it takes to get it out. One Los Angeles-based yoga instructor even created a class called Tantrum Yoga, which encourages yogis to try these unconventional methods to release emotion that gets stuck in our bodies and could turn into stress, disease, etc. 6. You should not skip meals. If anxiety makes you feel sick, the thought of eating food is as appealing as the thought of eating dirt. However, skipping meals can exacerbate anxiety. When you don't eat, your blood sugar drops, causing the stress hormone cortisol to be released. Cortisol can help you perform better under stress, but it can also make you feel worse if you are already anxious. The fact that you need to eat does not justify putting anything in your mouth, so don't use this as an excuse to binge on sugar and junk food. Although sugar does not cause anxiety, a sugar high can cause physical symptoms of anxiety such as nervousness and shaking. And if you start obsessing over a sugar reaction, you might have a panic attack. Increase your intake of lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats. Consume 5 to 6 small meals per day and avoid or limit your intake of sugar and refined carbohydrates. 7. Create an exit strategy for yourself. Anxiety can be caused by a sense of being out of control. You can't always be in control of your life, but you can take steps to identify your triggers and cope with stressful situations. Do you want to jump off a bridge just thinking about going into a social situation or meeting new people, while everyone else at a party is having interesting conversations? You might imagine yourself holding up a wall and counting down the seconds until you're put out of your misery. You drove with friends and are unable to leave, so you spend the entire night dressed as a punch bowl attendant. It's this fear that causes you to turn down invitations and sleep all weekend. But what if you planned your exit strategy before leaving the house? You could. For example, drive yourself instead of carpooling with your party animal friends. This way, if your anxiety begins to rise and you can't stand another minute of awkward interactions, you can leave. The more in the command you feel, the less anxious you will be. 8. Enjoy the moment. What are you thinking about right now, aside from the words on this video? Are you concerned about a meeting scheduled for next week? Are you concerned about meeting your financial objectives? Perhaps you're worried about whether you'll be a good parent despite the fact that you don't have any children and have no plans to have any in the near future. If you answered yes to any of these questions, you've discovered a component of the problem. You, like many others with anxiety disorders, have difficulty living in the present moment. Instead of worrying about today, you're already thinking about tomorrow's problems. And, depending on the severity of your anxiety, you may be worrying about yesterday's errors. You can't control the future, and you can't go back in time and change the past, so here's an idea: take each day as it comes. That's not to say you can't be proactive and avoid problems. But don't get so caught up in what has been and what will be that you cause yourself anxiety. Mindfulness and meditation, which are based on living in the present moment, have been shown to reduce anxiety. Start with a few minutes of practice per day and gradually increase the time. What's the best part? You can do it anywhere, in bed, at your desk at work, or even on your way home from work. Thanks for watching. If this video is helpful for you, then support us by subscribing to our channel. And don't forget to comment if you ever feel like anxiety, and how did you deal with it. This will help our viewers to fight with their anxiety.